Hey everyone, my name is Caroline and I want to help you edit better and have fun in your garden. All right, so today I wanted to talk about this peony. This peony is gorgeous, but I think the colors are a little bit too intense. Now I shot this in JPEG and I'm sitting here in Lightroom analyzing it. And sometimes I shoot in JPEG, most of the time I shoot in RAW, but a lot of times I'm shooting very spontaneously and this image just didn't quite meet my expectations. So I want to adjust it a little bit. Number one, the colors are just simply too saturated. In the darker shadow areas of these peony petals, it is way too intensely saturated, and therefore it looks a little bit sad. Also, I want to bring out the details in this area here with the little water droplets that are on this petal. And there are a few little blemishes that I'm unsure of about leaving. I'm not sure if I can remove them easily, so we'll see. So there are two ways that a person can manage overly saturated color in Lightroom. The first one is to go into the general color section and just lower the overall saturation just a little bit until things start to come into line. Now this maintains the actual hue of the petals. It just removes some of the amount of that particular hue, and yet it does it globally. It removes it all over here. We could also go in and restore this, use a brush, and on that reduce the saturation here, and then apply it very locally this way. And this may be a better option if you're concerned about removing saturation from other portions of the image. I'm going to remove that and go back to the original. The next option would be to go out of the brush, go into the main adjustment menu and into the color mixer and use this section to address it. I think the color is more on the red side than magenta, so I'm going to use that and lower the saturation, and that works really well. And I think that's the one I'm going to stick with because it's very even. And just remove some of that red saturation. The yellow and orange area here might need a little bit of attention as well. Just a slight reduce in saturation just brings it into line with the rest of the image and makes it not quite so, look at me, I'm orange. A lot of times orange can be a little bit over the top, so I tend to pull saturation out of that regularly anyway. Increasing the luminance of it can brighten it as well. The next thing I want to do is address this little area here and see if I can remove some of this sad little damage that is on the petal. I'm going to go to the heal tool and increase the size just a little bit. I'm going to use heal versus clone because cloning tends to not blend quite as well, and that does a wonderful job. Some of the little bits of pollen are kind of scattered throughout, and I don't mind those, so I'm just going to leave them. But that worked out really well. Just a couple quick clicks and it takes care of the problem. All right. So now how can I finish off this image? Well, I want to highlight this area. So I'm going to grab my brush tool and grab the texture slider. I love texture. Texture is a little bit different than clarity. Clarity works with mid-tone contrast, and texture works a little bit differently in that if you think of clarity as a hammer, texture is more of like a little chisel. It works a lot in a more softer way. Clarity tends to desaturate your image when you use that, and texture tends to leave the color more or less alone. So I find it a better option for things like this. I'm going to just scrub on some of the texture effect, and then I like to take it off and then just slowly restore it that way to get a good feel of what it looks like. It's easy to apply it at 100% and walk away. I like to take it all the way off and then start to inch it up to see how that is working for me. The next thing I want to do is start to craft the image to guide the eye through it, and all of this pollen and the center of the flower is a little bit busy for me. So I'm going to grab a graduated filter, pull it down from the top there, and I'm going to, let's see here. There we go. I just hit the O key too, so I could see my lines. And then one of my favorite tools that I like to use creatively is dehaze. I like to sometimes create the problem that the tool was created to fix. And so for that, I'm going to just lower this toward this side. I'm going to go in here and pull this down, lower the dehaze even more. It just softens it, a wash of light. And then I'm going to click out of it, click back in it, and I think I'm going to do the same thing over here. A little bit of dehaze just adds a bit of softness and whimsy. And then I can go back in and start to adjust. Maybe this is a little bit too much, pull it back. I don't want it to be really obvious, of course. My intention is to just subtly draw the eye where I want it to go, just a little bit. I want the eye to be here, and generally speaking, a vignette is what somebody might prefer to do in order to direct the eye. I could use a radial filter or a vignette, but I like to just soften the edges with a little bit of dehaze. Take a peek at my histogram and see how that is doing, if I can increase the exposure at all. And brightening that up a little bit actually helps a lot to give that light and airy feel that I love. And then I will export it. That is a quick Peony edit in Lightroom. Thank you.